welcome back to the homestead, and today I am in the greenhouse. And if you guys are first timers and you're new around here, my husband and I live off grid, meaning we don't have any public utilities. We live 100% off rainwater, and we grow about 90% of our food. And that's what I'm trying to do today, trying to grow some food. It's springtime, and so now it's rocking, everything's getting a little warmer, and I'm excited to be out here because I want to plant lots of food, and I know a lot of you guys are wanting to be more and more self-sufficient. And in this day and age right now, with everything going on, hyperinflation is going to be going crazy in the prices of groceries. I know a lot of you guys are already there, just freaking out every time you go to the grocery store, and things keep going up, 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 and up. So what I wanted to do today is talk to you about one thing that you might want to start doing, even if you're living in an apartment. Maybe you just even have a balcony and you don't have a garden, or you have a little bitty raised bed. You could produce something that will give you, nutrition, it'll fill you up, and it's something that you can store. So stay tuned. Today I want to talk about potatoes, good old-fashioned potatoes. Potatoes have been around for thousands of years. They're a wonderful tuber type plant because we're going to actually eat what's in the ground. So I was gifted many bags of these organic Yukon Gold potatoes. As you can see, look at what's happening to them. They're starting to sprout. And when you talk about potatoes, when they start to sprout like this, it's called chitting, C-H-I-T-T-I-N-G, chitting. And when that starts to happen, it produces something called solanine. And solanine is, when you get a potato that's green and you've heard, you can't eat the potato, it's gonna kill you. Well, it can make you sick. It's a kind of bitter compound, and then when you get these sprouts or it starts to chit and it gets bigger, this is producing a lot of that solanine in them. So you generally don't want to eat a potato that has like a lot of sprouts on them. You can pull the sprouts off, and if the potato's not too squishy, it'll be okay to eat. But when they're starting to get pretty big, I probably wouldn't be eating them. So right now, what I'm gonna do with these is I'm going to use these because I don't want to waste them. And what I love about the Yukon Gold variety is it will come to maturity very quickly. You can anywhere, between 60 and 90 days or so. So, you can get them smaller, or if you want them a little bit bigger, let them go a little bit more. The only downside on these kind of potatoes is that since they're going to mature sooner, they're not going to last as long through winter. So they're going to start doing this a little quicker. My space out in my raised bed garden really don't have a lot of potato space. I've already planted some of my Kennebec potatoes, and I've already planted some of my red Pontiac potatoes. I think I'm going to go ahead and plant them in some containers. So what I want to do today is show you how simple and easy it is for you guys to grow them in containers. So now we need to find the perfect container that we're going to put our potatoes in. So I have a couple options. I really love these old feed buckets. So if you know anyone that's a farmer, or maybe you can go to your feed store around. People have these lick tubs, feed containers. You can find them all over. You could put lettuces in there. If you want to grow a tomato and a pepper and some herbs in here. You could do a lot in this pot. I'm going to use one of these for my potatoes, as well as you could use 5-gallon buckets. So just remember, if you're doing potatoes, you want at least it to be able to hold 3 gallons. Something like this. It just is going to just depend on how many potatoes. So let's say I'm using this big feed tub. I'm going to put 4 to 6 potatoes in this one probably. A 5-gallon bucket, I'm going to probably put 1 to 2 potatoes in there. And then probably for this one, I might just put 1. We'll see. If I feel happy, maybe I'll put 2. We'll see. And then now I'm going to need a nice loomy type soil. Hi Molly, are you going to help me plant potatoes today? You going to help me? All right, so all you're going to need is some good soil. So if you have, a good type potting soil, raised bed mix, but you want to make sure you don't want it to be a heavy soil. You just don't want topsoil, because it needs to be easy to, get the potatoes out. Because if your soil is really compacted, the potatoes aren't going to be able to get bigger. So you want some compost in there, maybe some vermiculite, or even some coconut coir or peat moss, so that it's nice and just kind of breaks apart in your hand. And the other thing is, if you squeeze it, it should sort of clump together. So I'm going to fill about 6 inches. That's it. And the good thing about this pot is you can kind of see with the sunlight. See right here? You can see. So that's about 6 inches. And now I'm going to use my potatoes. Now on these potatoes that have the chitting on them and the little sprouts going, as you know, people will cut them so that you have a lot more different potatoes on there. You can do it like that, but today I think what I'm gonna do is, since I have so many of these potatoes, I'm just gonna pull off some of my little sprouts on here and then just keep the one at the top, and I'm gonna plant that. So in this big container, I'm gonna put about 5 plants. There's 1. And there's 2. And see how this one has a few on here? I'll pick the best one. That one looks pretty good. When it starts to chit like this and it's in the ground, this chitting is going to help deter like moles and voles and different pests from bothering and eating it up too. 3. Some of them might have a little mold on them. I don't think I want to use those. I'm just going to be careful. Here's a nice one. 4. 1 more. So now we have our potatoes. And what I'm going to do now is put them so that they are the sprout side up, to set them in there like this. And I think I'm going to put 1 more in there. So now we had 6 inches of soil. I put the potatoes with the little sprout at the top, and now I'm going to cover it with 6 more inches of soil. Now, 6 inches of soil, you put your potatoes in 6 inches over. When it starts to grow and it grows to about 6 more inches, then what you're going to do is you're going to start covering it up a little bit. So you just have a little bit of the green sticking out, and you're going to do it till you get to the top of the pot. That's what's going to help produce more potatoes, all right? If I just kept it like this, I'm not going to really get a lot of potatoes, but I want to keep stacking it up more and filling it with the dirt. So once it comes up 6 more inches, I'm going to cover it with dirt and just leave the top of the potato plant. And then once it grows 6 more inches, I'm going to do it again until I get up here. So I'll probably do this 2 more times. I'll fill it up with some dirt. And then my dirt will be all the way to the top, and this whole little pot's going to be filled with potatoes. And the cool thing about this is all you got to do is dump it over when it's ready to harvest. And I bet you're saying, how do you know you're ready to harvest? The potatoes are going to grow. You're going to have a beautiful little green plant. It's going to have some little white flowers on it. But what will happen is it's going to start to die. And when it starts to die and turns yellow, then you know your potatoes are ready. And all you're going to do is just dump it over, kind of fluff it out, and pick out your potatoes. And voila, you're going to have some potatoes. All right, so now I'm going to do this little pot. So for some of you guys that really don't have any room at all, this might be an option too. Usually you're going to get anywhere from 5 to 10 potatoes per plant. So when you are figuring out how many are in your family and you know how much food you're going to need, that's a good way to kind of figure it out. So 5 to 10 potatoes or so per plant. And especially like right now for some of you guys living in colder climates, you want to make sure when you do your potatoes, your regular white potatoes or your yellow potatoes like this, they like the ground temperature to be about 40 degrees before you start planting. Now when you look at a sweet potato, they like it to be about 65. So they like it much, much warmer than just a regular potato. So I have my 6 inches of my dirt. I'm going to get my potato, pull off the ones that I don't want, and then I think in this one, I'm gonna go ahead and put 2 and just set it in there, just like that. And then I'm gonna cover it up once again with my dirt. It's so fun to play in the dirt. Now since this is a smaller pot, generally you want it to be at least 16 inches or so. Anything smaller would be hard to work with. But on this one, I'm gonna probably only cover it 1 time because I don't have much farther to go. So once it pops up and it starts to get green, after it gets about 6 inches, I'm gonna kind of cover it up a little bit so a little bit of the green is showing, and I'll probably only do that 1 time on this one. So there's pot number 2, okay? Pot number 3 is going to be this 5-gallon bucket. Now, the one thing that I did not talk to you about is about drainage. You cannot put your potatoes in a pot that doesn't have any drainage. So as you can see, I have drainage in the bottom of this one already. This old feed bucket here had big cracks in the bottom, so there's plenty of drainage in the bottom. Can you guys see it? There's cracks in it, so all the water will come out of that. And now this one, I don't have anything in here, so what I'm gonna need to do is put a few holes in the bottom. So now all you're gonna need is just a hammer and a nail, None of my batteries are charged for the drill, so I'm just gonna do it the old-fashioned way. Oh, well look at that, how easy was that? See what happened? It cracked. So that's even better, all the water will come out. So I have a little hole in there, and I have a crack in there. So now I'm ready. The water will drain perfectly. So do you guys remember, what did we do? How many inches of soil? If you said 6, you're right. So 6 inches of soil, and then my potatoes. So something like this, 1 to 2 potatoes is all you're gonna need. I would suggest, honestly, if you live someplace warm, I don't like to do the black pots because they do absorb a lot of the heat. I would do something that is maybe a different color. But if that's all you got, that's what you got, you can do it. All right, so here is my potato. All right, so I'll put them in. And then I'm gonna cover them up with 6 inches of soil. All right, I'm gonna wait. And remember the Yukon Golds and some of the other varieties, the Red Norland, I know, I like that one too. It's a really good potato. It grows very well here in Missouri. They'll take a little longer to kind of start to pop their little heads out. But once they start to grow and they get to be about 6 inches, then you're gonna go ahead and cover it up with a little bit more dirt, but you wanna make sure the green is still there. And then you just keep doing it till you get to the top of your pot, whatever size pot you have. All right? Very simple, very easy. Now the next thing, which is very, very important, is they need to be watered. Make sure that they're watered. It's really important, especially in the beginning when you first plant them. You want to keep them very moist. You don't want them to be sitting in their water and be totally drenched, but they need to stay watered, especially until they start sprouting and coming out. So I'm going to water them really good. And it's important that you put them in full sun. They need at least 6 to 8 hours of sunlight. They like the hot. I showed you these containers. I know a lot of people like those growing bags. The one thing that I don't like about the bags, I know a lot of people do like them a lot, is they do dry out really quick. And you really, especially if you're someplace warm, you have to water a lot. I really can't water a lot here, so this is a little easier for me. I think we're on the road to some Yukon Gold. Okay, so now we are in, what is it, April now, the beginning of April? So in about 2.5 months or so, I will have potatoes. So I love planting some of these earlier varieties like the Red Norland and the Yukon Gold because I will have potatoes sooner than maybe my Kennebecks and some of my other potatoes. Depending on your growing season, you can grow potatoes and plant them. I planted some of my potatoes in like late June, July even. Don't think it's too late. People just say, oh, it's too late, I can't do it. You know what, try it. Try it. Like I was saying earlier, hyperinflation, the price of food. Start growing your own food. It is so simple. Get pots. You don't have to have a beautiful garden. You don't have to have this and that. You know, you just do what you can where you are. Start with herbs, start with some little bitty things, and you guys can do it. So I want you to leave a comment below if you guys have never started or tried potatoes and if you're going to try it because you just watched this video. I want to hear from you. So you guys have a great day and I will see you later. Bye. Did you guys know that in the 16th, 17th, and 1800s, chocolate was consumed as a beverage? There was no such thing as a chocolate candy bar. Well, we're bringing chocolate tea back to the 21st century because it's loaded with antioxidants our body loves, and it's a great source of magnesium that's wonderful for bone and heart health. It's a great addition to your coffee machine or your French press or just along with your favorite sweetener. You can find it at offgridwithdougandstacy.com along with our brand new tea infuser, simple to use for easy steeping. Cheers!